Bonhe's perspective. The door opens and I hurry into the quiet, low-ceiling district out to the busy corridor. As soon as I enter, the sound of delighted squealing draws my attention to the floor in the middle of the warren. I see Lagomir rolling over himself, absolutely hysterical with laughter. He's not alone. The one he's with isn't Hutch, recently returned to work after several months of time off he had to take to deal with the emotional trauma of a particularly nasty robbery. Neither is he with any of our neighbours. I've never met the woman causing my son such amusement, but I recognise her. The other day, while I was out making a delivery, I saw her staring down Officer Bezort and 2 other security men, all much larger than her, while some of her companions dug through piles of trash. I didn't get the chance to glean the whole story, since sticking around for it would have made me late, but the Friendian looked annoyed. "Do it again," giggles my son at the unfamiliar woman. She smiles, and the next instant, I'm not looking at her face anymore but her legs, as she springs into the air and slams into the ceiling, bracing her impact with her arms, before throwing herself back to the ground to land with a thud that suggests her body to be far more dense than I took it for. I'm stopped in my tracks as my son rolls over himself, spasming in laughter at the shocking physical display the girl just put on for him. Jumping high enough to touch the warren ceiling is no great feat. Most people who live here can jump that high. Doing so like she just did, though, was alarming. From the lightning-fast way she sprang from her standing start, to the sound of the impacts, to the way she completely trusted in her ability to keep from slamming her own head into the ceiling, it's clear that this girl is far from ordinary. With that jump, I dare say she could have gone as high as Bezort's head, if the mood had struck her the other day. "You want to see something even better than that, Laggy?" grins the woman, baring her teeth like a Terran, as the nearby speakers translate her words into European for him. "Mm-hmm," he confirms. She takes a moment to prepare herself, before springing upwards again, but this time doing so in such a way as only her feet contact the ceiling, her head ending up lower than it was and facing away from us. Then, actually taking a few upside-down steps to run on the ceiling, momentarily pinned there by the momentum of her jump, she flips back down, once again facing towards us, no part of her body besides her feet having contacted anything in the entire process. My son utterly shrieks in pleasure at the display. Coming up behind him, I cautiously announce myself. "Hey, Laggy, who's your friend?" The woman's attention snaps to me. Her green skin is hairless, with the exception of eyebrows and a head of spiked, honey-brown hair. Her ears are long, pointed, mobile, and mounted on the sides of her skull. A piercing pair of bright yellow eyes with vertical pupils sit flanking the sides of a long downward-facing nose, and above a mouth with what look like claw scars passing over it. With my temporal resolution higher than most, I'm able to tell she spends a brief moment assessing me, calculating, and then relaxes. It's quite unnerving. "You're another European, like Laggy, right?" She smiles, now utterly at ease. "I'm Vig. It's nice to meet you." "She's amazing, Mummy," observes my son enthusiastically. "She can do all kinds of crazy tricks." "I saw, sweetie. It was very impressive." "Thanks," acknowledges the little humanoid, with a cocky grin. "It must have taken a lot of practice to learn how to do things like that," I probe. The girl raises her shoulders in the gesture flagged as nonchalance before answering, "Nah, not really. It's pretty normal where I'm from, just easier in the low gravity here." "Oh, so you come from a high-gravity world?" I ask, as if that fact weren't blatantly obvious to me. "Guess so," she answers, doing another one of those shoulder raises. "I see. So what brings you to Zartham, Vig?" I ask. "We're just stopping off here on the way to somewhere else," she explains, completely ignoring the point of the question by explaining how travel works to me. Right. And how come you're here in the Warren?" Her face falls as she gestures around us and asks, The warrants, this place. Am I not allowed in here? Hurriedly, I correct. No, it's not that you're not welcome here. Well, I know you don't live here, and there's no thoroughfare, so it's not on the way to anywhere else. I was just wondering if you were visiting someone. Oh, nah, she answers. Cheer returned to her face. We're leaving today, so I was just having a last look around when I saw the door. She points over to the entrance I just came through. Noticed it because it was so small. I went up to it and it opened for me. Came in and saw Lucky here. Thought he was an animal until he said hello to me. He was so startled that I jumped away, which he found very funny. Ah, and that explains the jumping, I smile. So you've not been to Scifi before then? She gives a negatively flagged gesture and grimaces. I never left the world I was born on before very recently. This is the first time I've been anywhere but there. Oh. I frown sympathetically. Sorry to hear that, sweetie. The first time is always a bit rough. How are you finding it? Thoughtfully, she answers. It's a lot. We don't have anything like all this on Ground. Gesturing around and above her to indicate not just the Warren but all of Zartham. It's scary, but it's also exciting and interesting and fun. With a bittersweet smile. I chuckle. Yes, that about sums up space travel, sweetie. Those feelings never really go away, but you do sort of get used to them when you've been doing it long enough. She gives me another friendly but unnerving tooth bear as she starts. Thanks,
Vig!
Interrupts a powerful voice from the door that just opened behind me. Turning around, I see a large Terran with red hair and green eyes, stooped double to fit his, what looks like 2 meter plus, beneath the 1.5 meter ceiling, his gaze fixed on the girl. I briefly think he might have nefarious intentions of some kind, but the girl shows no discomfort with his appearance, allowing me to mostly discount that possibility. As he draws near, I recognize him, or I'm pretty sure I do anyway. Terrans have quite pronounced heterogeneity, so while it's not impossible that it's a different Terran with the same features, I'm nearly certain that this is the same one from Arthur and Daughters last year. Ignoring me and Laggy completely, the stooped giant with his hair to the ceiling, Crouch walks over to Vig and chides.
You can't keep going out without your holo, Vig. Holo means all. You need it for everything. Without it, you can't pay for stuff, you can't ID yourself, and, crucially, we can't call you.
Irritatedly. Sir, I say before Vig can, causing the Lumen man's green eyes to snap to me. Do you recognize me? He frowns.
Sorry, no. Should I?
Well, I'm going to be embarrassed if it's not you, but I'm fairly sure you saved my son's life a year or so ago. Recognition lights up his face as he says,
Oh, it's you two. From the Emporium? Sorry, I didn't recognize you. The cracked rib was a bit distracting and a lot's happened to me since then.
I raise my poor hand to his for a Terran greeting and say, Bonne Judy, it's a pleasure to meet you properly, sir. He smiles and reaches out to enclose both my paw and about a third of my forearm in his hand, toothlessly smiling.
Victor Cuddles Taylor. Pleasure's all mine.
Lagomir, I say, turning to my son. Come and say hello to the man who saved you from Malthar's loader. Laggy tentatively hops forward, the tops of his ears not quite level with the enormous Terran's 65-centimeter tall kneecaps. The giant squats down on his haunches, still taller than me, and beams at my son. It's nice to meet you, sir. Thank you for saving me. Sorry you had to. I'm Lagomir Judy. He introduces himself.
Nice to meet you, kid. I'm Victor. No need to apologize. You're very welcome.
Smiles the Terran. Lagomir holds out his arm to the man, the way he saw me do, only he extends the wrong one. Not missing a beat, the crouched titan grasps my son's arm in his left hand and gives it a gentle shake up and down before asking,
My imagination, or are you bigger than last time I saw you?
Seeming to forget his trepidation, my son immediately and excitedly says, "Yes, I'm growing. I'm 61 centimeters with ears." Extending his ears from where they were flattened behind his head to fully standing. The Terran lets out a genuine sounding chuckle at that, repeating, "With ears? That's lovely." Victor," interrupts the one he actually came here for. "Did you need me for something?" Returning his attention to her, he answers, "Yeah, Vig. It's time to go. Everyone's back on the ship, except those out looking for you. Something else Hollow's help with is timekeeping." She scoffs. "I'm not going to let some little square boss me around and tell me I'm late for things."
Ain't even slightly how it works, Vig,
observes the Terran wirily.
You use it to tell you the time. If you don't, then you'll be late. A lot.
Rolling her yellow eye, she says, "Sure, whatever. Could I ride you back?" Cocking a copper eyebrow, unimpressed, he asks,
Your legs stop working?
"No, I've just been entertaining Leggy with tricks and I'm a bit tired now," she answers. The man sighs before saying,
Sure, fine. Climb on.
Turning his back to her and gesturing it with a thumb. The girl grins and clambers up. The giant stands, lower than he came in so as not to crush his passenger against the ceiling, and turns to wish us,
Goodbye, you two.
"Bye," waves Vig over his shoulder. "Goodbye," answer Lucky and I in unison. With that, the pair make their way to the door. The man stands fully up the moment he's able, causing both his and the girl's heads to disappear above the lintel. The door closes. "They were nice, weren't they, Laggy?" I smile. "They were so cool," he says enthusiastically.